legendary quests beckon with the promise of danger and glory, and only a brave few dare to heed the call. For honor and vengeance, they ventured forth with steel and sorcery to combat the merciless legions of darkness. For it was said that those who answered the call were possessed of the warrior spirit, and the blood of the dragon flowed through their veins.
The beginning and the end of the world. The secrets of the gods. First, the light arrived, and then there was darkness.
I'm sure many of you are aware of the 2004 incident involving the USS Nimitz. During a pre-planned exercise off the Baja Peninsula over a 6-day period, multiple assets within the strike group reported these very strange anomalous craft appearing in the region. Now, for the Navy, that's a big deal. In fact, it was such a big deal that they dispatched F-18 flights of F-18 to go intercept whatever this was, get a visual on it, and determine whether it was a threat. That makes this incident very, very different than any other UFO incident on record. The Navy went out of its way to go and find this thing and determine what it was. Now, they came away with more questions than they had answers. The craft had the ability to go from the surface, literally 5 feet above the ocean, to 60,000 feet and move in ways that the pilot described as impossible. Now, in the report, they said something that got me thinking, and it has to do with our recent investigation into these laser tests over the United States. I'll give you the link to the report down in the first pinned comment. It's a long report. It's 13 pages. This is the bullet point. The anomalous aerial vehicle, AAV, which is how the military is referring to UFOs now, was no known aircraft or air vehicle, ready for this, currently in the inventory of the United States or any foreign nation. See, the language here is really important. The AAV exhibited advanced low observable characteristics and multiple radar bands, rendering U.S. radar-based engagement capabilities ineffective. The AAV exhibited advanced aerodynamic performance with no visible control surfaces and no visible means to generate lift. The AAV exhibited advanced propulsion capability by demonstrating the ability to remain stationary with little to no variation in altitude, transitioning to horizontal and/or vertical velocities far greater than any known aerial vehicle with little to no visible signature. Now, here's the part that everyone needs to pay attention to. The AAV possibly demonstrated the ability to cloak or become invisible to the human eye or human observation. Possibly demonstrated as well highly advanced capability to operate undersea completely undetectable by our most advanced sensors. Now, what does that have to do with the recent investigation into the lasers? What may have been observed.
This is a quick chart I am mainly finishing for the sake of Malik and the identity crisis I left him in after he challenged my namesake. That explains the progression of my being. Now, as I can best translate it, this has no exact starting point per se, but more of a source of inertia which expands through the manifestations and incarnations, which all lead back to the source of the inertia and are its fundamental compositions that in some way or fashion support the development of the source. The Ascended Master, me, the physical embodiment, Angra Mairyu, Zoroastrian cultural personification of evil, Samhain Western Europe, generalized title of evil manifested Mahakala. Hindu persona of destruction, Apep, Egyptian persona of destruction, Leviathan, Jewish persona of destruction, the four winds of chaos, strife, fury, rage, vengeance, the four hellhounds that are a representation of my thoughts and my will taking on a metaphysical form, or my Enemora, greed, hatred, jealousy, wrath, gluttony, adultery, idolatry. These are the 7 deadly sins that are connected in association through the destruction of life and are my Enemora, or thoughts taking on a physical presence through the aspect that defines a physical conscious form, which is the act of emotion. Each of the deadly sins is represented by an archdemon, 7 of them. Their names are Asmodeus, Astaroth, Melek, Beelzebub, Elphegor, Alastor, For an astral being to commit an act of emotion is considered to be equivalent to that of dying, for you descend into the lowest realm, which is the physical realm. This is only a part of the vast region of my dominion that is called hell. Within this generalized realm there are areas and subdivisions that don't all pertain to suffering, but are all generally linked by some profound transgression from the Creator in some fashion. Such as the realms of limbo, a place reserved for those who have become so self-destructive in despair that they destroyed the one sure option to finding and putting into immediate action a solution that they had working in their benefit by committing suicide. So in limbo they slumber the dreamless sleep until a day when a solution can be found to their sorrows, and they are kept and protected by the mysterious enigma demon known as Cthulhu, who is also called the Dweller. The Black Gates of Tartarus. This realm is reserved for the most dangerous and destructive in all existence. Those who promote the actions of mass genocide, those who desire to destroy the world, and those who are not concerned of their actions that could wipe out entire civilizations are kept here, without form, frozen between the spirit and the astral form, some in stone, some in objects, maintained and withheld from progressing any further in existence by incarnating their essence into the objects sealed behind this gate, located in the most perilous place in hell, near the chasm of oblivion. This realm is kept and guarded over by 2 deities, one of angelic origin and the other of demonic origin, and are the most powerful manifested versions of the ultimate good and evil. Their names are Ahura Mazda and Angra Mairyu, aspects of the great cosmic balance and keepers of the Black Gate. Ahura Mazda is said to appear as a great mystical pyramid with an eye at the top. Angra Mairyu is said to appear as monstrous maelstrom-like storm with flame-tipped winds blowing about around it. The wastelands of Exodus. This realm is located near the central lake of fire region of hell and actually could be considered its shores. Mentioned in the biblical apocrypha, it is the place that was described to be for those who profane the name of God with their works, whose eyes and mouths have been sewn shut and their sins have been etched onto their foreheads. This area is a vast desert barren region made to hold millions of souls. The worst part is that it is reserved for a certain age of mankind whose wicked ways and blasphemy make it so that their words are not to be uttered, for they all have silver-gilded tongues that will deny and work lies they cover with truths to manipulate their way out of everything, which is why their sins are upon their foreheads, so that no one has to ask why they're there. Who oversees this realm is also a mystery, as it has not yet been revealed. The chasm of oblivion, this region lies at the bottom of the spiraling-shaped outline that was mapped out of the infernal realm once long ago, I believe by the Islamic prophet Muhammad, who was shown a vision of perdition by one of my archdemons, Malik. In the diagram of the map of Sheol it shows a spiraling downward rock-like mass with a vector point-based center at the bottom. Well, this is completely off from the rest of the infernal region. However, it is a pretty precise description of a certain area in my domain known as the Abyssal Plains. This region surrounds a large fortress-like labyrinth that contains 700 maze-like levels that some say was built by Zeus to hold Pandora's box. Now, despite the Greek myths, you may have heard of Pandora's box. This maze and what lies at the top for the winner is beyond the power of a god, it is the power of God. The flame of Olympus, the divine spark of creation. But if any of you are keen at deciphering between the lines to revealing hidden truths, then you would suspect what this thing really is and why it sits where it does. For the labyrinth itself sits over the chasm of oblivion, which is a vortex-like whirlpool in the spiritual realm that is like a black hole. No one that has ever fallen into it or entered has ever returned. Some even refer to this place as the second death, a place from which there is no return. Considering what lies at the center, the impossible amount of floors to clear to exit this maze, not to mention the stakes or the rules and things to expect to encounter within, it's obvious the more you hear about it. This is my prison where I was cast when I was the fallen one. The prison when he was cast down and sentenced to remain there until the end of days before the final judgment. The other fallen angels were given dominions and refused to be able to take physical form. Earl was sentenced to wander between here and there, ushering the dead back and forth, also without physical form nor allowed to enter heaven, only to the spiritual realm and back. Lucifer, however, was sentenced to be the keeper or steward of perdition or the place of punishment until an appointed time near the end of days, when he is let loose for a time to perform tasks given to him by God at that time. I am not sure about this specific section, for it has been removed from the Bible and altered, and I am assuming that Earl or some great nemesis of Earl's is responsible for this, because the changed scripture now depicts Earl as one of God's most trusted high archangels. Now, the reason I give Earl the benefit of the doubt, apart from being an angel in design and thus incapable of such voluntary ideas let alone actions, is that also Earl should know that though that crap might be able to fool mankind, it's not going to fool anyone in heaven, only condemn him. For it is written that anyone who should alter the message of this book to proclaim it falsely or remove its words, so too shall their name be removed from the book of life. They shall be cast out of creation, and their place shall no longer be found anywhere. Well, that's not exactly what it says, but I've seen what it means, and that's basically what it means. You, your life and all your works cease to exist, and the universe continues on without you in it, without a path for you to walk down, as was the fate of the deceiver. Further note on Malik and Muhammad. Hey, wasn't that the guy on the mountain I was sent back to give the dream to? The one I was supposed to appear as an olive tree 150 years before Jesus' birth to tell him of Jesus' birth. Malik was subtly not luring the prophet himself in, but a damned spirit who had escaped and was residing within the prophet by the name of Elibas or Abraxas, and had tricked the prophet into believing him to be Allah, who is another cultural depiction of the Creator, just as Odin, Ahura Mazda, Brahma and Yahweh are in various cultures. Though as I understand it from the enlightenment I was given, he explained to me that just as I was being given a depiction of him based on my understanding of what defines him, in which he speaks through to me, this was the same for the other prophets as well. They too went and explained the details of who gave them the knowledge they proclaimed, and that explanation was cemented into images of statues, and the people totally missed the point his prophet's words were outlining every time, as I understand it. But also, like in Muhammad's case, someone out there used that image he explained to turn around and deceive him, created the religious crisis of the Islamic faith today, if I'm understanding it correctly. I am viewing this culture with a very serious perspective, for history and current events show that though we may banter back and forth about the moral compass of our views on the matters of God and faith, their culture have lost family, friends, entire generations to the same arguments we toss back and forth between each other. I think that is why they see us as such fools, is because the things we discuss to try and understand, some just being ignorant, such as dark matter, aura and Ra, those subjects have started wars and killed friends and family members, so to repeat them so openly is just shocking to them, I suppose. I shall have to look into this more one day to understand it better. One must be careful in these times, they say, especially when speaking of Muhammad, for his followers will come and cut off the heads of those who profane his name. I myself have no reason to knowingly and openly speak falsely against him, but I do say this. If any should decide to come and seek my life, I warn you now, I am one of the two witnesses. Though it may seem confusing at times what I am writing, that is because I am basically taking dictation as it is given to me. These things are not always events that were shown to me months or weeks ago, but as I am writing it, I am one of two that has come speaking all manner of prophecies and proclaiming the word of the true God and not your emblazoned idols, just as it was said, and those who have tried to seek my life, all who have tried literally have died, and I do not boast. For example, 7 people conspired against me, 5 of which lived in the building I live in. 3 of them died within 2 months of the incident, 1 is in a wheelchair, 1 is in a residential asylum, another one has been taken for all he had and wanders aimless with no home now, and the last one lives only because I asked that he be left for me to take care of personally as I devour him slowly, piece by piece, mind, body and soul. Even after his body expires he will decay at record speeds, and for reasons they won't be able to explain either. All of them suffered these effects in under 6 months. So if any think they can take my life, then please by all means, but if you succeed I will become more powerful than your puny mortal minds can ever grasp, even for those of Islam. They have legends in that region of what I know they should fear if they heard its words uttered. Words like forefathers of the Udug, the Magogites, the Nazgul of the Mansion of Shadow, things with gnashing teeth and ripping of flesh that lay in the darkness of the mountains to the north beyond the wall of the Emirites. So do not cross me, and my kin will continue to honor the treaties. Maybe, it's hard to say. We do not always work together. Some follow their own agenda, except for those of us that have the gift of Manchuak, or sages as you call them. These are some of the infernal realms regions. There are more, but upper management is demanding a deadline. So I'm in a crunch. For those who say how could it be that this is one of the 2 witnesses, I say to you this: who better? I say it was a well-played strategy. Who better to speak against the Antichrist? Who better to point out his false beliefs than the one he thought he had killed many times over and wouldn't be a problem by this point? Who better than the real Lucifer to call him out on his lies before the world?